Hello friends, I am Mohan Kumar from GetintoIAS, and in this video we are moving on to the next chapter, which is the post-Mauryan period. So in the last lecture we saw about the Mauryan Empire, which created unity in India. So there was a division after the Vedas and many religious sects came inside, Buddhism and Jainism, and parallelly a new era emerged with the Mauryan Empire. So Ashoka was the greatest ruler, but the later rulers were showing less in progress, and that created a division of empire. So Pushyamitra Shunga was the commander-in-chief of the Mauryan Empire. So in the later stage of the Mauryan rulers, he assassinated the last Mauryan ruler, Brigadratha. And the main task of the Shunga dynasty was to protect the North India from invasion of Bactrians. So Bactrians was one of the division from the Greeks. So we will see about them in the later lecture, Bactrians. And Shunga dynasty fought against Kharvela, who invaded Kalinga, especially Pushyamitra Shunga, who was the founder of this Shunga dynasty. So after the Mauryan period, Pushyamitra Shunga assassinated and killed the last Mauryan ruler, Brigadratha, and then his main task was to protect the North India from invasion of Bactrians. So the Shunga dynasty's main task was to protect the North India from invasion of Bactrians, and we will see about Bactrians in the upcoming lecture. And he fought against Kharvela, who invaded Kalinga, and he also patronized Buddhism. Sanchi and Barhut stupas were renovated during this period. And Agnimitra was the second ruler after Pushyamitra Shunga, and the last ruler was Devabhuti, who was murdered by Vasudeva Kanva. So Kanva, he was the founder of Kanva dynasty. Kanva dynasty was short-lived, so there was not much progress during this period. And Shungas, what role did they take means they revived Brahmanism, and also they promoted the growth of Vaishnavism and Sanskrit. So they promoted the Sanskrit language after the Pali and Prakritis during the Buddhist period. They promoted the Sanskrit language and also Vaishnavism. Vaishnavism means promoting the worship of Lord Vishnu. So that is what Vaishnavism is. And now coming to the next dynasty, which is Satavahanas. So now we are over with Shunga dynasty, which ruled the northern part after the Mauryans. And now coming to Satavahanas, who ruled the Deccan region. So they are also called Andhras. So they occupied the overall Deccan region and they ruled for nearly 450 years, and their main sources were Puranas. So from Puranas we could learn a lot about Satavahanas, and also the inscriptions of Nasik and Nagaland gave info on Gautamiputra Satkarni. He was the most prominent and important ruler during the Satavahana dynasty, and the founder was Simuga. The second ruler was Krishna, who succeeded Simuga, and what he did was he extended the kingdom up to Nasik. Krishna extended the kingdom up to Nasik, up to the north, and then the third ruler was Sri Satakarni, who conquered the western Malwa and Berar. So these were the first rulers, and then the 17th ruler was Hala. So Hala was famous for Gatasaptasati or Satasai. So these were Prakrit literatures which was famous during this period. So first, after the division of Mauryan Empire, Shunga dynasty was found by Pushyamitra Shunga by assassinating the last Mauryan ruler. And then the main task was for the Shunga dynasty or Pushyamitra Shunga was to protect the North India from invasion of Bactrians. And he fought against Kharavela, who invaded Kalinga. And he also patronized Buddhism. Sanchi and Barhut stupas were renovated. Agnimitra succeeded Pushyamitra Shunga, and the last ruler was Devabhuti, who was murdered by Vasudeva Kanva, who was the founder of Kanva dynasty. During the Shunga period, they patronized Buddhism as well as revived Brahmanism, growth of Vaishnavism and Sanskrit. So Sanskrit, they promoted the use of Sanskrit. Vaishnavism means those who pray Lord Vishnu. Now coming to Satavahanas. Satavahanas, they occupy the entire Deccan region. They were also called as Andhras, and they ruled for 450 years. Puranas and some inscriptions of Nasik and Nagaland were their sources, were their archaeological sources, and they gave info on Gautamiputra Satkarni. These inscriptions gave info on him, and he was a prominent and important ruler, which we will see after this about Gautamiputra Satkarni. And the founder was Simuga. Krishna succeeded him, and he extended the kingdom up to Nasik. And the third ruler was Sri Satkarni. He conquered western Malwa and Berar. Hala was famous for Satasai, which was a Prakrit literature. So literature was also famous during this period. And next we are moving on to the achievements of Gautamiputra Satkarni and also the economic and social condition of people in Satvana dynasty. Now we are moving on to Gautamiputra Satkani. So he was the prominent ruler of Satvanas, and he is the ruler who captured the whole of Deccan. So Deccan was ruled by Satvanas, but this ruler Gautamiputra Satkani, he captured the whole of Deccan and he extended his empire to a wide area. And his defeat is mainly portrayed of Nagapana. His victory over Nagapana was mainly portrayed, and Nagapana was the ruler of Malwa. He ruled for 24 years from 106 to 130 AD, and he was succeeded by his son Vasisthaputra Pulmayi. He patronized Brahmanism, also gave donation to Buddhist monks. So there was a tolerance during this period. Even in Sungas as well as here, they promoted Buddhism as well as they gave their support to Brahmanism also. So Brahmanism initially, after the coming of Buddhism and Jainism, it started to decline. So these rulers also promoted Brahmanism by reviving that, and also gave donation to Buddhist monks. And the coins issued during this period had ships engraved on them, which shows that their navy also was elaborate and they also used the waters for trade. Now coming to the last ruler. So this is the end of the Satvana dynasty. Last ruler was Yajna Sri Satkarni. So he was the last ruler. And now coming to the progress or the economic and cultural situations during this Satvana dynasty. So as I said, there was remarkable progress in trade and industry because the Deccan region is located between the west as well as the east. There are ports, and silver coins were issued for trade, that's called as Karshapanas. And overseas activity were found because there were both sides, there was seas, and also the coins issued had some ships, which shows the naval power. So overseas activity were found, and craft were also prominent during this period, and pottery, weaving and oil pressing was the frequent craft works here in Satvana dynasty. And Ptolemy mentions many ports in Deccan. So he has said that there were many ports in Deccan because it is located between both west and eastern sea boundaries, and Kalyani, Gandhaksela, Kanjam, these are the important ports during the Satvana dynasty. And Ptolemy is a mathematician from Egypt. He is also a geographer, so he knows about these kind of ports present in different countries. So he gave information about the ports in Deccan region under Satvana rule. And the cultural habits during that period was they patronized Buddhism and Brahmanism. This Satvana dynasty, they patronized both Buddhism and Brahmanism. They built chaityas and viharas for the Buddhist, and also they gave grants of land to Buddhist monks. So I said initially they gave donations, also they gave grants of land to Buddhist monks. And the main architecture was Nagarjuna. So this was a main architectural feature found in the Satvana dynasty. And Brahmanism revived, as I said earlier. And Halas Satasai, this I said in the last lecture. This was a Prakrit literature which was an important literary source for this period. And this is what the economic and cultural condition is. So first initially the Sungas arrived, and then the Sungas was in the north, and during that time Satvanas ruled the south or the Deccan Empire. So Deccan Empire's prominent ruler was Gautamiputra Satkarni, and he captured the whole area of Deccan, or he expanded the Deccan Empire or the Satvana Empire up to this maximum capacity. And then his main victory was over Nagapana, who was the Malwa ruler, and he ruled for 24 years from 106 to 130 AD. This Gautamiputra Satkarni, and he was succeeded by his son Vasisthaputra Pulmayi, and he patronized Buddhism. This Satvana dynasty, they patronized Buddhism, also they revived Brahmanism, and they gave donation to Buddhist monks, and coins were issued during this period, and the coins had engravement of ships, so that shows their naval power or naval trade during that period. And the last ruler was Yajna Sri Satkarni. Now coming to the economic and cultural. Economy, obviously the trade was much obvious in this period, it was exploring like anything, and they had a great progress in trade and industry, and also silver coins were used for trade, that is called Karshapanas, and overseas activity were found due to establishment of many ports during this period. Ptolemy found many ports in Deccan, Kalyani, Gandhaksela and Ganjam. Crafts such as pottery, weaving, oil pressing were also found during this period. This also contributed to the economy of that territory. The cultural situations of the people, they patronized Buddhism and also revived Brahmanism. They built chaityas and viharas. Grants of land to Buddhist monks was given by the kings, and they also, the main architecture during that period was Nagarjuna, and Halas Satasi was the important literary source. It was written in Prakrit. So this is what the Sunga and Satvana dynasty is all about. Now we are moving on to the invasions during this period. So there were many invasions from foreign in India, and during this period there were certain invasions. I said about Bactrians in the earlier lecture, so we will see about Bactrians and some other invasions during this period in the next slide. Friends, now we are moving on to the foreign invasions. So after the Mauryan Empire, Sungas and Satavahanas ruled the northern as well as the southern respectively, and the foreign invasions mainly were Bactrians and Parthians. So these two kingdoms were independent from Syria. They got independence from Syria during 3rd century AD. And Demetrius, Greek ruler of Bactria, so he was the first to invade the parts of India, and he invaded Punjab and Afghanistan. So these were the foreign invasions during this period. And there were also evidence of Greek invasions during the later period. And now this Apollodotus and Menander, they were the commanders of this guy Demetrius. They were commanders of Demetrius, and they conquered Sindh. So Apollodotus conquered Sindh and he marched up to Ujjain. So these were the areas he covered, he occupied or conquered. Menander, he captured up to Madura. So Madura was a prominent place during the Satavahana dynasty as well as the Sunga dynasty, and they attempted to capture Pataliputra but stopped by the grandson of Pushyamitra Sunga. So Pataliputra was the capital of the Sunga dynasty after the Mauryan Empire, because they assassinated the last Mauryan ruler and captured Pataliputra. But while this guy Menander, while trying to attempt to capture Pataliputra, he was stopped by the grandson of Pushyamitra Sunga. So this was about the Bactrian invasions, and also about, now we are going to say about the Menander. So this commander was little bit notable, and he was also called Milinda. His capital was Sagala or Sialkots. So he embraced Buddhism, and during this period, the Greek ambassador called Heliodorus became a Vaishnavite, and this Greek ambassador erected Garuda pillar. So Garuda is the vehicle of Vishnu. So he erected Garuda pillar at Besnagar, and Menander dialogue with Buddhist monk Nagasena. So this chat was made between Menander and Buddhist monk Nagasena. This was compiled in Pali work Milinda Panho, Questions of Milinda. So this is a literary work, a Pali literature. So Menander dialogue with Buddhist monk Nagasena was compiled in this Pali literature in Milinda Panho. This is the name, which is also called as Question of Milinda. And now coming to the sagas. So this were about the Bactrian invasions, but these sagas, they attacked Bactria and Parthia. So they are located near to the Middle East, this Greek and Syrian kingdoms. They near to those areas they are located, this Bactria and Parthians, because they got independence from Syrian kingdom. So what he did is Saga dynasty, they moved on to Bactria and Parthia, they attacked them, and they extended to northwest India. So northwest is nearby to the Middle East. So they extend the empire up to the northwest India, and they are divided into two. One is northern satrapas, which is headquarters at Taxila, and another is western satrapas, which is headquartered at Maharashtra. So this Taxila was again captured by Parthians. So they initially attacked, this Saga dynasty initially attacked, but this Parthians again gave a revenge and captured Taxila. So the northern satrapas went to the Parthians, but the western satrapas, they continued their rule but came to a decline later. And the Saga founder was Mois, and his successor was Asus I, who was his son. So this is how the foreign invaders came, and this is how the Saga dynasty attacked the foreign invaders. Next we are moving on to the other kingdom, Kushanas, and now we are moving on to the revising part. So Bactrians are the foreign invaders who got divided from the Syrian Empire. So Bactrians as well as Parthians, in the middle of 3rd century AD, they got divided from Syrian Empire, and Demetrius was the Greek ruler of Bactria. So he was the Greek ruler and he was ruling Bactria, and he was the first to invade Punjab and Afghanistan from them. And then Apollodotus and Menander, these were two notable commanders of Demetrius. This Menander is more notable than Apollodotus, because Apollodotus conquered Sindh and he marched up to Ujjain alone, but he captured the Madura, which was an important place during the Sunga as well as Satavahana dynasty. And Menander also tried to capture Pataliputra, because Pataliputra at that time was ruled by the Sunga dynasty. Pushyamitra Sunga's grandson was ruling it, and he stopped him. So Menander couldn't capture Pataliputra. And then Menander, his capital was Sagala or Sialkots. He embraced Buddhism, and during this period, the Greek ambassador Heliodorus became Vaishnavite. So Vaishnavite means praying Vishnu, the Lord Vishnu, and he erected Garuda pillar at Besnagar. Garuda is the vehicle of Vishnu. And Menander dialogue with Buddhist monk Nagasena was compiled in a Pali work, which is called as Milinda Panho, Question of Milinda, a Pali literary work. and the Sagas. They attacked the Bactrians and Parthians and they extended their empire up to the northwest. So they attacked the foreign invaders, and also later they got the revenge from the Parthians because when they were divided into northern satrapas and western satrapas, the northern satrapas was headquartered at Taxila, which was attacked by the Parthians, and they captured the northern satrapas. Saga founder was Maurus, and his successor was his son Asus I. So this is about the foreign invaders and their attacks. And now next we are moving on to the Kushanas. Now we are moving on to the next dynasty, which is Kushanas. So the founder of Kushanas was Kujula Kadapsis. They are the branch of Yuchi tribes from Central Asia. So they are not native to India, but they are tribes of Central Asia who attacked the Bactria. So initially Sagas captured Bactria after the Bactrian invasion. So they attacked Bactria and displaced Sagas. So the founder here was Kujula Kadapsis, and in Sungas it was Pushyamitra Sunga, and in Satvanas it was Simuga. So these are the three founders of three dynasties after the post-Mauryan period. In Kadaphis's II period, he was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and he extended the empire as far as Madura. So his father occupied the Kabul valley. So he initially extended this empire up to Kabul valley, and his son Kadaphis II conquered all of northwestern India as far as Madura, and he was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And now coming to Kanishka. So Kanishka was a prominent and important ruler. He is also the founder of Saga era. Saga era is the period of 78 to 128. This period is called as Saga era. He was the founder of Saga era, and he captured Pataliputra, Bodh Gaya, and also Kashmir. So Kashmir, the main source was from Rajatarangini. The Rajatarangini's author was Kalgani, who said that Kanishka also invaded Kashmir and occupied the Kashmir. So this is found by Rajatarangini by Kalgana. He also issued coins. So this Kushana dynasty as well as Sunga as well as Satvana dynasty, they issued coins in their names. So Kanishka also issued coins in their names. His coins were found in Madura, Sravasti, Kausambi and Benares. So he also fought against Chinese general Pancho. So he invaded Chinese and he fought against Chinese general Pancho, but he lost. But in later attempt, in the second attempt, he again attacked his son. Pancho's son was Panya. So in that attempt, he won. So he also captured some territories of Chinese. And now Kanishka, as we know, he extended the empire to a maximum. He was a prominent ruler of Kushana's dynasty. So after attempting to capture Pataliputra also, he extended the greater part of Gangetic Plains. So once the Pataliputra was captured, obviously the Gangetic Plains is captured. So even in the Mauryan Empire, even in the Sunga dynasty, they did the same. They occupied the greater part of Gangetic Plains. So the Kushanas from the Central Asia, they also occupied a greater part of Gangetic Plains. So their area, they expanded from Gandhara in west to Benares in east, from Kashmir in north to Malwa in south. So this is their expansion of territories. Maruda was an important cultural place in their day. So as I said earlier, Maruda, they also tried to attempt to capture. So Menander also captured Maruda. So it was a cultural important place, Maruda. And Purushapura was the capital, which is the modern day Peshawar. Their capital was Purushapura, the Kushana's capital. And now coming to Kanishka and Buddhism. So Kanishka patronized Buddhism. He also was tolerant to other religions also. So in his coins, we found that the coins had Buddha, Greek, Hindu gods images engraved on it, and this shows he was tolerant to other religions also. And Mahayana Buddhism came into action during this period. So earlier up to Ashoka, there was Hinayana mechanism. Earlier up to Ashoka, there was Hinayana Buddhism. So after that, this Mahayana Buddhism was patronized. Mahayana Buddhism means they worshipped Buddha as God. As I said during the divisions of Buddhism sects, I said Mahayana Buddhism means worship. They worshipped Buddha as God and also made flower garlands and rituals for Buddha. And also they made statues, they made human appearances, they gave human appearance to Buddha. So these kind of things were followed by Mahayana Buddhism. This came into action once after the Mauryan period. So till date, Ashoka was following Hinayana Buddhism, and then came the Mahayana Buddhism. They also built Chaityas and Viharas. This is common. By every ruler, the Buddhist, when they patronized Buddhism, they built Chaityas and Viharas. And this guy sent missionaries to China and Central Asia. So Kanishka sent missionaries to China and Central Asia for spreading Buddhism. He captured China's region also. So he sent missionaries to China and Central Asia for expanding Buddhism. And Buddhist scholars were patronized, and he convened the 4th Buddhist Council at Kashmir. So Kashmir, Kundalayana Monastery, which is at Srinagar. So this monastery at Srinagar, and this fourth Buddhist council was held at Kashmir. So he convened Kanishka convened the fourth Buddhist council at Kashmir. And Buddha Charita is a literary work which was authored by Asvaghosha and the ancient physician Charaka. So they also patronized this one. They gave respect and also patronized this ancient physician Charaka. And now coming to the Nagarjuna. So Nagarjuna was from south. He adorned the court of Kanishka. Adorn means making beautiful decoration. So this boy from south, he was given some place in the northern kingdom of Kushana, and he also adorned the court of Kanishka. So this is what about Kushanas. Now we are going to see about the decline as well as the art of Kanishka. So now we are going to see about the decline as well as the art and sculptures of Kanishka. Before that, I will like to revise it. Kushanas, the branch of Yuchi tribe from Central Asia, and they attacked Bactria, displacing Sagas. Sagas, after they captured Bactria in the previous era, they extended up to Gandhara region. So Gandhara is found near to the northwest region as well as in the Gangetic plains. So his founder was Kujula Kadapsis. He occupied Kabul Valley, but his son Kadapsis II conquered all of northwest India as far as Madura. Kadapsis II was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And Kanishka, he was the founder of Saga era, ruled from 78 to 120 AD. He captured Pataliputra, Bodh Gaya and Kashmir. Kashmir's occupation was mentioned by Kalgana in Rajatarangini. Coins found in Madura, Sravasti, Kausambi and Benares. His coins were distributed in a large area. And he fought against Chinese general Pancho, but he lost. But his son, fighting against his son Panyang, he won the Chinese region, and then he also sent missionaries to China and the Central Asia for spreading Buddhism after occupying those territories. So they conquered a greater part of Gangetic plains. Kanishka conquered a greater part of Gangetic plains, or we can say Kushanas conquered a greater part of Gangetic plains. And his region expanded from Gandhara in west to Benares in east and Kashmir in north to Malwa in south. So this is how the area was expanded during his region, or area was widely distributed, his occupation of territories. Madura was an important cultural place, and Kushapura was his capital of Kanishka and modern day Peshwa. This is the modern day Peshwa. And Buddhism and Kanishka, so they had some close relations. Kanishka embraced Buddhism as well as Buddhist. He patronized Buddhist scholars, and coins had Buddha, Greek and Hindu gods, which shows that he was tolerant to all religions. And Mahayana Buddhism came into action during this period. So up to Maurya, Ashoka practiced Hinayana Buddhism, and this period Mahayana Buddhism came. And obviously they built Chaityas, Viharas. He also sent missionaries to China and Central Asia. Buddhist scholars were patronized. He convened the fourth Buddhist council at Kashmir. And Buddha Charita, which was a literary work, the author was Asvaghosha, and the ancient physician Charaka was patronized, and Nagarjuna from south adorned the court of Kanishka. So this is how the Kanishka period was distributed, or the characteristic feature of Kanishka and Kushana's dynasty. Now we have to see about the decline of Kushanas as well as the artworks. So this Madura was an important cultural place. So there was a Madura school of art. We will see in the later lecture, or in the next slide, we are going to see about the Madura school of art as well as the decline of Kanishkas. So now decline of Kushanas. So after Kanishka, his son ruled, who was Huvishka. So he was Kanishka's son, Huvishka, and there was another successive rulers after him. Kushana rule extended for another 150 years after Kanishka. So this shows that it was a vast empire, but still it started gradually declining. So the last Kushana ruler was Vasudeva, who worshipped Shiva. So this started gradually declined, and finally Gupta Empire occupied the entire northwest India as well as the central India. And there were two types of art patronized during this time. One is Gandhara art and Madura school of art. This not only in Kushana dynasty, but in the entire post-Mauryan period, which belongs to Sunga Satvanas as well as the Kushanas. And this Gandhara art, home was Peshwa, and Sagas and Kushanas were real patronizers of Gandhara art. They patronized Gandhara art, and monasteries were found in Peshwa and Pavalipindi. This adds some Greco-Roman architectural impact. So the elements of India as well as the Greek-Roman elements were mingled to give the sculptures as well as the architecture. So there was a rich carving and elaborate ornamentation in the sculptures, and the main theme was Mahāyanism. So I said Buddhism was patronized during the post-Mauryan period also, but here Mahayana Buddhism became dominant. So they started to worship Buddha. They gave image to Buddha, and also they started to create some anatomy for Buddha. They gave body postures. So these all happened during Mahāyanism or Mahāyana Buddhism, and the height of Buddhism sculpture also raised. So the height of Buddha sculpture started rising during this stage. And now coming to Madura School of Art. So this was home to Madura. Madura is present day UP, modern UP or Uttar Pradesh. So it was flourishing in 1st century AD. During the 1st century AD, it flourished as rapid face, and then the Buddha image gives spiritual feeling in face. So it was not like in the previous Gandhara art. So in Madras School of Art, it gives some spiritual feelings while seeing the Buddha face. And in this sculpture, also carved out images of Vishnu and Shiva. So I said they were tolerant to all religions. In Sungas as well as Satavahanas as well, they found some gods images in the coins. So this shows that they also carved out images of Vishnu and Shiva, Parvati and Lakshmi. So they were wives of, Parvati was wife of Shiva and Lakshmi was wife of Vishnu. So they also carved out female figures, Yakshins, Apsaras. They were carved out beautifully, and this is how the art and architecture evolved during the post-Mauryan period. So coming to the Kushanas, first Sungas attacked the Mauryan Empire. Pushyamitra Sunga was the first ruler, and Simuga founded the Satavahana dynasty in the Deccan region. And then the Kushanas, they ruled for nearly 150 years after the founders itself. Kanishka was the third ruler, and after him they ruled for 150 years. And Kanishka's son Uvishka, and he also made Madura became important city during his period. So in period of Uvishka, Madura became an important city for culture as well as art. And last Kushana ruler was Vasudeva, who worshipped Shiva, and the decline of Kushana started gradually due to the arrival of Guptas in the later period. And this all happens in the north and central India. But during this time, during the AD time, 1st century, 2nd century, there was the evolution of Sangam age in the south. So these all happened after the Mauryan Empire, which occupied up to the Deccan region, and they split it into three. So the northwest was ruled by Sungas first, then the Kushanas came, and in the central ruled by Satavahanas. They continued their progress. And Gandhara art, home was Peshwa, Sagas and Kushanas patronized the Gandhara art. So monasteries found in Peshwar and Pavalipindi. Greco-Roman architecture impact, there was a mingle of India as well as Greco-Roman impact in these sculptures. And the main theme of the sculptures were Mahāyanism, which gave image to Buddha. And the height of Buddha sculpture was also raised during this period. And Madura School of Art, this home was Madura, which is modern day Uttar Pradesh. And this art flourished during the 1st century AD. And Buddha image gives spiritual feelings in face. So in this type of art, in Madura School of Art, the Buddhist sculptures were heightened and also gave spiritual feelings while seeing it. They carved out images of Vishnu, Shiva, Parvati and Lakshmi also. They also carved out the female figures like Yakshins and Apsaras very beautifully. This is how the art developed during the post-Mauryan period, and this is how the post-Mauryan period came to decline also. So Mauryan period was split into different dynasties, and they ruled some regions, and automatically they started to decline, and finally the Guptas emerged, which we will see in the forthcoming chapters, the Gupta Empire. So after the Mauryan Empire, one strong founded empire was the Guptas. So Mauryan Empire was expanded up to the south, nearly to the border of south. Gupta Empire was also maximum up to that extent. So we will see in the subsequent chapter about Gupta, but these dynasties occurred during the post-Mauryan period, which were a little bit small compared to the Mauryans as well as Guptas, and there was also diversity because they were not united, only certain regions they occupied. So also during this time there were some foreign invasions, so India was not much developed during their rule because there were divisions in the rule. So this is all about the post-Mauryan period. Thank you. Please subscribe to our channel.